Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome and thank you everyone for joining us in the third Invest Saudi webinar. My name is Abdurrahman Al-Ambar from the Investor Business Solution Department at the Ministry of Investment. And we are here today to learn more about the stimulus and economic relief packages and how we can help and guide investors and the private sector to navigate through these unprecedented times. Our theme today is focusing on industrial incentives and its services. Before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank all our lovely viewers and listeners for tuning in, of course, and all our respective governmental partners for taking part in this lovely webinar. As a breakdown, we have a wonderful lineup today. So we have from the Ministry of Industry and Mineral Resources, Mr. Badr Al-Foda, who is His Excellency's MIM Minister Advisor. We have Mr. Ahmed Halabi, the Money Investment Services Unit Manager. And from the Royal Commission for Jubail and Yanbar, Mr. Zaidan Youssef, the Director General Investment Development Division. And from the Economic City and Special Zone Authority, we have Mr. Nabil Al-Bakhsh. From the Integrated Government Services Center Manager. And from the Saudi Authority for Industrial Cities and Technology Zones, Mr. Naif Drewish and Mr. Mohammed Al-Hamed from the Saudi Industrial Development Fund. And last but not least, we have Mr. Majid Saadi, who is the Executive Director of the Investor Business Solution at the Ministry of Investment. So, today, we are going to be talking about the stimulus packages here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And before I even get into this, I just want to have all our viewers know that we as Saudi Arabia, we are very, very incentive savvy. We have this mentality of incentivizing the private sector even before the COVID-19 pandemic even came to us. So for us, it comes naturally to say that we have around 68 entities offering a total of 237 incentives, and that's split up into financial and non-financial incentives, and we have course covered all our bases. We're talking from energy and water, mining and metal, industrial, which all our lovely speakers are going to be going deep dives on those, healthcare, information technology, and so forth. So when it comes to, let's say, how we deal with incentives, usually in the Ministry of Investment, it's very simple. We're very channel-oriented and we're very systematic. So we usually receive inquiries and we direct our lovely investors to the proper governmental entities, because we have that kind of support and that sense of camaraderie, that sense of support system for us to make sure that we have happy investors. And then if, God forbid, any issues would come around, we have also a CRM system to communicate, to follow up, and to make sure that you are a happy investor when it comes to getting your information or the incentives applied for. So when it comes to the incentive during the COVID-19. So we have from the Ministry of Finance, the ministry allocated a whopping number of 177, give or take, billion Saudi riyals for the private sector. And this has been communicated from the Minister of Finance and Acting Minister of Economy and Planning, His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Al-Jad'an. And he confirmed the Kingdom's government has reached advanced stages of implementing its plans under the Kingdom's Vision 2030, and it has continued to control the public finances and control the fiscal deficit and achieved the goals by end of 2019. And at the same time, it also achieved its goals, increasing non-oil revenues, which increased by 13%, which is very, very important for us as well. So we offer a wide range of incentives. It ranges from loan programs. We're talking duty exemptions from taxes. We can also talk about the employment funding, which is a popular one from the Ministry of Labor, the energy and utility enablement, financial incentives, and so forth. So I repeat, when it comes to the 177 billion, it's split up into two. It comes to 130 billion for the private sector and 47 billion Saudi riyals when it came to the health sector. And also, I'd like to mention there was an increase of 50 billion Saudi riyals. These are receivables. This is an amount for all the private sector to get their hands on if there's non-payments when it came to the public sector or unpaid dues that were around. And there are certain steps that you can take. And myself and our lovely team are more than happy to talk about this later on, or you can reach out to us and we're going to give you contact information later on. So when it came to the initiatives, we've already talked about the health sector, the 12.5 billion US dollars, 12.2 US dollars allocated to expedite payments for private sector dues. That's the 50 billion that I talked about. You have 50% off electricity bills in commercial and industrial sectors. And this is for 3 months, ladies and gentlemen. It's April, May, and June, provided remaining dues are collected in increments. So it's going to be in 6 months installments, and that's going to be from January 2021 with possible postponement. And there's also the 30% of electricity bills in commercial and industrial and agricultural sectors for April, May, with possible extension as well. There is also a lovely one, which is the minimum salary paid to those self-employed for passenger transport industry who have had to stop work, unfortunately. And these people have to be registered with the Transport General Authority. And there's also the activation of Council of Ministers resolution requiring companies where the government owns 51% of the capital to prioritize local content and support SMEs in procurement and the tendering offerings. SAMA, or the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, implemented a postponement of payments program worth 50 billion to help funding authorities, providing capital for micro, small, medium enterprises, and those were cut up into three. We're talking deferred payments, funding for lending, and loan guarantees. General Authority of Tax, we are talking postponement and acknowledgement of payment of VAT, selective goods, zakat, income, and withholding taxes. And we also have the suspension of fines for late payments of premiums and amendments of tax returns for taxpayers, non-cooperation fines for taxpayers, and examination fines. Ministry of Human Resources and Social Development. So they have many investments, and we have the immediate calculation of employment, let's say for the citizens, for Nitaqat program for all establishments. They have this lovely VIP service called the Safwa, which works around the clock to help you give support and whatnot. There is also the enablement of secondment of personnel through Ajir. And these are getting employments from other places that are no longer using them, that they can use those employers to reduce the workload and burdens and effective sectors, and to assist companies operating in these sectors to expected high demand. And that was my time, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to make it very short, and because we do have a lovely lineup, and I want to make sure that all our lovely listeners know that we have contact information on the end of the webinar, so you can get in touch with us once we are done. So right now, I will give the floor to Abu Badr, Mr. Al-Badr Foda, His Excellency MIM Minister Advisor from the Ministry of Industry and Mineral Resources. Abu Abdullah, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Abdurrahman. Good evening. I would like to take this opportunity to express our greatest thankfulness and gratitude to the custodian of the Holy Holy Mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz, and His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, may God protect them, for all of what we have witnessed, initiatives and measures at Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Humanity, as well as the great support aimed towards the private sector. Our thankfulness is extended to their excellencies, the ministers and the officials, as well as the private sector representatives who are working day and night to study and launch initiatives and measures in order to support the private sector, including industrial and mining sectors. Thank you, Invest Saudi, for organizing this webinar to illustrate MIM, which is our Ministry of Industry and Minerals, initiatives and measures toward industry and mining entities. If I may begin, next slide, please, Abdurrahman. Next one, please. Yes, next one. If I may begin, Saudi government authorities are working on initiatives to mitigate the impact of emerging COVID-19 pandemic on the industrial and mining sectors. MIM works to achieve these goals three pillars. Yes, just keep this slide, please. As follows. The first pillar would be initiatives launched by the Saudi government authorities, many initiatives launched by the Saudi government authorities to support industrial and mining sectors. For example, SANIT, HRDF, custom and Munshaat, and etc., including the ones that were explained by Abdurrahman himself. The second pillar would be initiatives launched by the ministry and its ecosystem. We will be introducing these initiatives and measures to you. And the third pillar would be initiatives launched by specialized government committees. These committees, as of initiatives launched by specialized government committees, MIM or MIM is a member of such committees and has participated in launching several initiatives and still working to launch more. Next slide, please, Abdurrahman. I will be explaining the industrial services slide, which has 1 minute, please. Yes, the industrial services department has launched, as you can see, 4 measures, and I will wrap them into 2: extending the period of industrial license renewal requirements fulfillment for about a period of 60 days for licenses expired during the business suspension period to provide an extended time limit to help investors meet necessary requirements. The second, third, and fourth would be extending the duration of employment support letter as well as customs and chemical exemptions during the business suspension period. I should give the mic now to my colleague, Mr. Ahmed Halabi from Mineral Resources to explain the measures of mineral resources.
Thank you, Abu Abdullah. As we know, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia took a strategic and swift response to limit the impact of an economic downturn as a result of the global COVID-19 pandemic. This includes an extensive nationwide scheme designed to support the industrial and mining sectors. Of these measures, the Ministry of Industry and Mineral Resources launched several incentive programs to support investors in sustaining their businesses through the current strict regulatory measures, including deferring approximately 470 million Saudi riyals of payment due to the government. For the mining sector, the Ministry of Industry and Mineral Resources introduced support package for the investors in the mining sector, include 5 incentives to support sustaining their businesses and mitigating the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. The first, postponing the implementation of mining license programs for a period of 90 days. Second, extending the period of completion of the requirements for the issuance and renewal the mining licenses for a period of 90 days. Third, extending the period of financial claim for holders of mining licenses to pay the financial dues for year 2019 for a period of 60 additional days to the specified period. Fourth, extending the period of export permits issued by the ministry for a period of 90 days after expiration. Fifth, extending the period of all the mining licenses that are valid for the duration of 180 days or less for a period of 90 days. Thank you, and I will leave the microphone for my colleague Zidan.
Mr. Zaidan, if you can unmute your mic, please.
Sorry for that. First of all, I would like to thank my colleague in the investor side in Invest in Saudi for organizing this event. Talking about the Royal Commission for Jubail and Yambo, RC. RC is responsible for management, the master developer and the city manager for 4 cities, Jubail, Yambo, Ras Al Khair, and Jazan. Those cities contribute to almost 65% of non-oil export of Saudi Arabia. So, therefore, one of the major ultimate objective for the RC management is to ensure the business continuity of the work within the city. There is a tremendous of actions and the procedures being taken in various sectors within the city: education, health, labor management, and there is a lot of investment related to the investors. For the sake of this event, I'll focus on the investment part and the services that been extended to the investors. The first procedure was suspensions of all the holding the suspensions of most of the investors. The suspension of the services to the investor until the end of the 2020. Also withholding the financial fee on the investors as specified in the Royal Commission regulation until the end of the first half of 2020. Postponing the monthly utility consumption bills of the light and support industries. This is one of the procedures targeting the small and medium industries, which is very essential, and it's the area of the focus of the Royal Commission to stimulate the downstream industries and to incentivize them the maximum benefit of the added value, to create the added value for the industries. Also modifying the conditional or the site allocational conditional site allocation duration from 12 months to 24 months. And recently, because of the demand from the investors, this procedure was limited to only the industrial investors. Now we extended this procedure to all the investors within the Royal Commission cities. Also extending the fifth one, extending the valid and under renewable investment agreement for additional 1 year without any financials, without any increase in the rentals. Next slide, please. Also, the seventh one, postponing the procedure of cancellation due to the failure or default granted for the investor, and this extension until the end of the 2020. Finally, postponing for a year previous claim for reserved capacity for utility and for the light and support industry, and this is another procedures just to help and maintain, to help the downstream or the small and medium industries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zaidan, and that was very informative. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, I give the mic to Mr. Nabil Bakhsh from the Economic City and Special Zone Authority. Mr. Nabil, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Abdurrahman. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad. I want to thank you, the Ministry of Investment, for giving us this opportunity to participate in this helpful webinar to our private sector, understanding that it is following the direction of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia towards the assuring the continuity of the businesses during this COVID-19. Hamanallah wa iyaakum bidnillah. I would like to start with the previous slide, if I may, Sadi Abdurrahman. I want to take this chance to explain the role of the Economic Cities and Special Zones Authority, and I want to take this chance also to explain a little bit about its mandate. In 2010, a royal decree was released to form ECZA, which is the Economic Cities and Special Zones Authority, as a single regulator for all the government services inside the economic cities and for its investors. Nevertheless, also it gave the role of supervising the work inside the economic cities in terms of construction and in terms of making sure that all the investments are being accurately working on and operating. Following the mandate with certain and lots of workshops between the top management of the Economic Cities and Special Zones Authority, we proudly came up with a number of services consisting of 150 services split it into licensing services, municipality services, and real estate services. Following the values of the Economic Cities and Special Zones Authority to be as close as possible to the investors, we worked toward making legitimate agreements with the other government entities, like our fellow colleagues in here, like me, for example, that we are going to emphasize the investors to submit all the requirements through one-stop shop through the 360 Center, so the Economic Cities and Special Zones Authority can apply for those services on behalf of the investor. All of that saying, we consisted what is called as the investor journey for different sectors of investors. So today we have an investor journey for the industrial sector, we have an investor journey for the services sector, and we have investor journey for the logistics sector, for example. Given that, in March of this year, we are all aware that the announcement of the COVID-19 pandemic started, and it was no secret that the private sector was hugely impacted, and immediately the Economic Cities and Special Zones Authority started to work towards mitigating those impacts and economic impacts on its investors, which led them to come up with the first wave of initiatives. If we can go to the next slide, Mr. Abdurrahman. Yes, thank you very much. And as you can see in here, we had started the first wave of initiatives. As of today, I was speaking, the total number of 6 initiatives to support the business continuity for our investors inside the economic cities. I will go by one right now to explain it to you. The first initiative was the automatic renewal of the investment licenses. The reason behind this is that we are aware that all the investors are going to be really busy in formalizing the business continuity for their operations. So instead of interrupting that work for them and interrupting their operations, we decided as ECZA to start taking over and leading the renewal automatically for their investment licenses in order not to stop their operations with the other government entities, such as the Ministry of Commerce, for example. The second, the third, and the fourth, we're talking about the postponement of the financial compensation payment for different services that the Economic Cities and Special Zones Authority own, such as the licensing, such as the real estate and municipality services. All were actually decided to have it for all the investors to have a streamline in order to retrieve all the services that they require in order to have their operation smooth without the impact of their financial situations, especially in this COVID-19 pandemic situation. We had already decided that the deadline for all those postponements is going to be until the end of Q2 2020. Nevertheless, again, there are continuous studies that we are going to look over any additional incentives and initiatives for those investors and see if we can postpone also the payment further than the Q2 of 2020. The fifth one and the fifth initiative that ECZA is proudly had announced was the postponement of the payment of the fines resulting from violations. As the role of the supervision inside the economic cities for its investors, ECZA is still working towards fixing all the violations inside the economic cities and making sure that everybody is following the procedures and the conditions. However, when it comes to the payment for those violations, we had communicated these initiatives in particular to defer the payment and not to affect them financially within this period. Last but not least, we're talking about the postponement of the execution of services suspension procedures. There will be no suspension for any investor inside of this period. We will take it with each and every investor and see exactly how we can rectify the situation in order to avoid the suspension. If we go to the next slide, I will take the chance also to see and give you an idea of what else that we had come up with to support our investors during this pandemic period. So we started working remotely with all the investors 24/7 to be available to their inquiries and their questions, for example, and to direct them directly to the concerned departments and to concerned verticals in order to resolve their problems. The second initiative was we had initiated and we have launched the WhatsApp channel for our dear investors to rectify all their situations and to listen from them closely and to follow our value of being a friend and guide to our investors. And it was really helpful. And most of the investors today are using the WhatsApp to communicate with us and to see exactly how we can solve their problems and be very close to them. Nevertheless, we also hosted a number of conferences with the investors to explain to them our initiatives, to explain to them our role, and to explain to them what can we do during this pandemic, and especially the curfew period of time, especially that we are located outside of Jeddah, and most of our investors are commuting from Jeddah all the way to King Abdullah Economic City, one of the examples. We received plenty of questions, and our concerned departments in safety department did a magnificent job to communicate with the Ministry of Interior to resolve those problems. And the last that comes with nature, which the direct calls to our investors, we do it on a weekly basis. So we can make sure that all the investor journey for all the investors are being streamlined and not being affected through this pandemic. I believe I have covered my points, but if we go to the last slide, I want to thank you all. And just to draw your attention, we're still working with continuous improvement, and we're being led by our Secretary General, Mr. Mohammed Hilal, to come up with extra ideas and more further ideas how to support our private sector and our investors inside the economic cities. I want to thank you all for listening. And here you can see all the contacts. You can reach us anytime you like, and I'll be available for your questions after the webinar. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdurrahman. Mic is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nabil. And right now we are going to the Saudi Authority for Industrial Cities and Technology Zones, Mudun, with Mr. Naif Drewish. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Abdurrahman. Thank you for the team who presented their initiatives. Some incentives to the private sector in light of COVID-19 crisis that hits the world. These incentives are financial and non-financial incentives to support the industrial sector and the stability of the industry and its growth. Its growth is our interest. It's to have the industrial sector to grow. So we have initiated 6 initiatives at the very beginning, and we have added later on and more one initiative. These initiatives, sorry, account for all invoices that has been issued in Q2 or later. That the benefits or the savings that expected to be 25 million riyal. Also, we have extended the due date for all invoices that has been initiated in Q2 by 3 months. Up to now, the targeted number has 250 has benefited from this initiative. Also, we have added an exemptions for some of our fees. So some of our services requires due diligence and efforts from Mudun personnel. Yet we believe this is a hard time for the private sector, so we made these services for free. First of all is the approval of engineering drawings. It requires our safety departments and our environment departments to proof and reviewed the drawings to make sure that it's in line with the standards, and it requires efforts. We have made it free, and up to now, the expected savings will be 5.4 million. Up to now, we have made 59 for free. The exemptions from contract amendments fees, these are some tenants or some partners, they've changed their contract through the term of the contract. It requires as well some due diligence. We made it free. The fees usually used to be from 10,000 to 20. The expected savings before the end of the year will be 4 million riyal. Also, we have extended the period required to start the operation for each factory. It's by 50%. It used to be 24 months. We made it 36 months. So this will give the time and the liquidity to make the liquidity stay with the tenants or the partners till things recover. Finally, we have extended the validity of the operation license. The operation license, any operation license that will expire this year, has been extended to the end of the year. The targeted number is around 900, and already 848 has benefited from this incentive. Next, please. The beauty of our initiatives that it's applied automatically to all our partners. So each incentive that has been introduced is already there in the system, systemized, and there is no need for any of our partners to apply to get the advantage of these incentives. So any invoice that has been issued starting Q2 has been issued with 90 days due date payment extension and with a 25% discount. Any approval engineering drawings process has been issued without fees, and etc. So each incentives or each initiative has been automated and applied automatically through our systems, which makes the satisfaction for our partners it's priority for us. I think with this, I'm wrapping up my presentation. In Moodins, our interest is to make sure that our partners is very satisfied in this hard time in the whole world, and we will not stop there. We will make sure that we have the right initiatives for them. We came up late, allow temporary housing for laborers in the factories. We have not added here. It's in the process. It's already live, but it's in the process to make sure it's live for our tenants. So probably through the year, we will come up with the new initiatives once we see there is a need and the possibility to do that. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Naif. That was very informative. And now we move along with the Saudi Industrial Development Fund with Mr. Mohammed Al-Hamid, who's the Business Development Fund Manager. Mr. Mohammed, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Abdurrahman, for the introduction. I'm delighted to be here. And I thank the Ministry of Investment for providing us and organizing this webinar. And I also thank you for tuning in. Today, I'll try to cover briefly 3 main topics. I'll start by giving a high-level overview of the transformation journey SIDF is going through. And then I'll talk about some of the initiatives that came about as a result of this transformation effort. And then I'll conclude with the initiatives launched by SIDF in the face of the negative implications of COVID-19. In 2018, SIDF, as I said, launched a corporate transformation strategy that aims at supporting the government in the realization of Vision 2030 objectives, and in particular, objectives set out by the National Industrial Development and Logistics Program. SIDF has been mandated or positioned to be the financial enabler for this program, expanding our scope of financing of not only covering the manufacturing sector, but also the priority sectors listed out in the program, include mining, energy, and logistics. And as a result of that, we've revamped our strategy based on 4 main pillars. The first of which is build upon the continuous development of the industrial ecosystem. This is a legacy role that we have continuously put a lot of effort and focus on since the establishment of this IDF, and that we want to take to the next level. Additionally, we've obviously introduced, as I said, more focus on the priority sectors listed out in the National Development and National Industrial Development and Logistics Program. Another main pillar in our strategy is to build on the strong foundation, organizational foundation that this IDF has always been known for, and to offer best-in-class value proposition to our clients. Next slide, please. As I said, as part of this transformation journey, we've introduced a number of working streams. I'm giving some examples here. Some of the examples, some of the work streams. One of the work streams is around the investor enablement, which has to do with developing incentive programs, targeted investment programs tailored to attract investments in the sectors that we're serving. The first of which is AFAP, which is a program that is aiming to support SMEs to grow to their potential. Tenafusiyya, on the other hand, which translates literally to competitiveness, is a program geared toward improving the productivity of the sectors that we're serving. It has 2 main tracks. A track that is around supporting investments in energy efficiency solutions, and then another track that supports investments in digital transformation, again with the objective of increasing the productivity in the kingdom and the chances of being more competitive, and as a result export oriented. Tawteen, on the other hand, is another program that we worked on with a number of national champions in the kingdom in an effort to localize their value chain. The beauty of this program is that not only as this IDF obviously will provide the financing for such investments, but also the investor is able to tap into, as I said, investment opportunities availed by these national champions. And here we're talking about Aramco through their Activa program. We're also talking about SABIC, the Nusanad program, and what have you. The fourth incentive program is Mutajaddida, which translates to renewables. This program has 3 main components. The first of which is aimed at supporting the localization of renewable energy components, particularly in the PV and wind technologies. The second track is around supporting the utility scale, the installation of utility scale renewable IPP projects. The third is to support the dissemination of distributed generation solutions, both off-grid and on-grid. In terms of the financial products that are available to our clients, project financing has always been the jewel of what we offer to our clients. It's a medium to long-term loan that is offered to both green and brownfield projects. Recently, we've also introduced the service of issuing the letter of credit through a network of local banks. Also considering expanding that to cover some international banks. We're still in talks with a number of them. Another new product that was launched recently is the multi-purpose loan, which is a medium-term loan to support the operational enhancements in the sectors that we're serving. Another also recently developed or offered product is the working capital, which is a short-term loan to cover the working capital cost. Lastly, I'll talk about the acquisition financing, which is also another product that we developed and launched recently. with the objective of funding acquisition, refinance acquisition, bridge loans for local companies trying to acquire other local companies for the objective of achieving synergies, whether vertically or horizontally. We're also considering expanding this offering to allow local companies acquiring international companies for the purposes of tapping into IP rights and so on. In terms of human capital, which is another important stream that came about in our strategy revamp, we had put a lot of effort in doing an internal org restructuring that is aimed at providing better services to our clients. We've introduced the relationship management function to ensure a credit officer is directly dealing with a client throughout the journey of the loan application process. We've also set up a credit enterprise risk to manage our risk exposure and to deal with pricing and so on. We've also moved on to a fully automated loan application process, which helped us reduce the duration or the time it takes to review a loan application from about 11 months historically to an average of 4 to 5 months. Additionally, we're investing heavily in developing our own human capital and also extending that option to the wider ecosystem, whether it's from the public sector or even the private sector. Next slide, please. Building on what Abdurrahman mentioned, as you all know, the government launched a number of intervention packages for multiple entities, totaling to roughly around 180 billion. SIDF has played a major role in that as well, and we've created 3 main initiatives so far. Abdurrahman, if you can move to the next slide. The value of these 3 initiatives totals up to an estimated value of around 4 billion Saudi riyals. Obviously, the objective of these initiatives is to help the private sector and specifically our clients to reduce the negative implications of COVID-19. The first initiative of which was a blanket approval to restructure premiums due in 2020 for our small and medium enterprise clients. And also this was extended to cover medical projects as well. The total value of this initiative is about 4.9 billion. The number of beneficiaries exceeds 500 SMEs and is also serving 14 medical projects. Additionally, next slide, please. Additionally, we've also launched 2 more products or facilities to support our clients and the ecosystem in general. A product that offers covering the operating expenses for 3 months. SIDF has already reached out to clients in this regard, eligible clients in this regard. And also we've launched another product to cover the cost of raw material for medical suppliers and pharma for a period of 6 months. We estimate the value of both initiatives to be more than 500 million Saudi riyals. One point that I think I forgot to mention in the previous slide was that the restructuring of loan premiums, although was given in a blanket approval to SMEs, but also for large corporations, we're dealing with them in case by case. We estimate the value of the loan or premium payments due in 2020 will be restructured to be around 1 billion Saudi riyals. I hope I didn't go too fast, but I encourage everyone to visit our website at sidf.gov.sa to also get more information, especially on the incentive program that I briefly talked about and the array of financial products. With that, I've reached the end of my part. Abdurrahman.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muhammad, and that was very informative as well. And as you can see on this slide, you have your contact information that you can reach. And please rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, that all this information will be available after the webinar is done upon request. Thank you from SIDF. And right now, last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you the Executive Director of the Investor Business Solution at the Ministry of Investment, Mr. Majid Al-Saadi. The mic is all yours.
Thank you very much, Abdurrahman, and thank you, Ministry of Industrial and Mineral, for your great incentives program and presentation, which really encourage, I think, everyone to get the benefit from it. Next, please. If you may also, it's worth to explain more about our incentives in Ministry of Investment and how we can engage our customer and how we can collaborate with our customer. Next, please. So we, as a Ministry of Investment, we thought what incentives we can provide and how we can help our customers, especially in this period of time. The minister have decided to establish the MCRC, and the MCRC is Ministry of Investment Response Center, which with the mission to be the backbone that support the business sector. Here are the three pillars that NCRC have established to assure this objective: Response Center, Communication Center, and Business Continuity. And we'll talk briefly about these streams. Next, please. In the Response Center, collaborate with the representative within the Ministry of Investment, and also with different government agencies, seeking to enhance the investor confidence and solve all of their challenges and ensure the continuity of their business. How we structure the Response Center. To achieve the expected level of customer satisfaction, it was important to keep an open communication between the customer and all the government, taking into consideration the current situation. We studied in general the client need in this period and divided our even Response Center to three sections. Section number one is the communication. Basically, it's contact the customer and receiving calls from the customers. And the team work around the clock to contact customer using all the channels, by phone, through email, text messaging, to make sure that our customer is working fine. In addition, we have added more communication channels such as WhatsApp, Twitter, and other to receive issues and inquiry. Then we move to the next level, which is internal. The internal, it's another working group to deal with the challenges facing the investor related to the procedure within the ministry and Ministry Business Center, also to fix any technical issues. The third level is the external. The external file is a group that dedicated to the issues facing the investor outside the scope of the ministry. And on that also, we identify three main asks where the customer will ask in this period. One, to respond to the temporary procedure that were issued and also how to implement. Financial incentives that recently approved and how to benefit from it, and Abdurrahman is leading this two sectors. The third, challenging facing the investor. Currently, we have more than 35 government agencies who have direct relation with the investor, and we have an SLA agreement for solving challenges monitored by hours. And definitely to make sure that we are solving things, we have an escalation directed to the minister, and I've also from the government sector, that to make sure that we are a solver center and direct escalation to solve it as quickly as we can. Next. In the communication sector, as you know, ladies and gentlemen, that the most important element in this period to provide information. So our working team keep collecting all the new and temporary procedure to establish it on our website, along with the common questions in addition to the stimulus package. Also, the series of webinars is an example that to keep for keeping informed our client about the latest information. I think we have decided to publish 7 webinars, and now we are 3, and the remaining coming follows. Next, please. As of numbers, you will find in this simple slide some of a high level of our achievement related to the challenges outside the ministry. We received almost 263 cases, 85 inquiries, 118 cases, 60 incentives. In addition, we have also got 46 cases that not related to the pandemic, but because our main job in the ministry is to solve the challenges, so we have handled it to our concerned team, and it will be explained in the next. As a conclusion, the total until now, about 300 cases. We solved 225 and remaining 38, but that was yesterday, and today we solved 18. And the last table contained more detail of the cases that we have solved. It's worth noting that the response center was established and activated very quickly due to the main reason that the center team is almost the same team who's working the investor business solution department in the ministry. Next, please. And I would like to explain, just to give you an overview about our center and how we are working. Yes. IBS, which is Investment Business Solution Team, aims mainly to solve the challenges of investors, but it became clear to us that some challenges related to the lack of policy or regulation that may require amending it. All of this effort is to reach customer satisfaction and improve business environment to achieve the goals of Vision 2030, which aim to involve the private sector in contributing, increasing the GDP. We believe that improvement can be only done if we look at things from the ground. The Investor Business Solution Department seeks to unify, the channels of receiving procedural cases so that we can provide solution of various kinds of issues or raising them to the relevant authorities if the matter related to policy or regulation. Next slide, please. As a result, we seek to implement sustainable solution to improve the business environment. This related to our job. One is unify the source of cases, overcome the challenges, and permanent solution. This will be our aim goal. Next. From that point of view, it's important to give you a brief about the National Competitive Center, who works to improve the business environment by amending the regulation. And as I mentioned, the IBS, Investment Business Solution Team, considered one of the main resources to the center. The center includes a large number of government agencies and reporting to the government center. Next, please. Here we will find some example of the government entities who are related to the center and reporting to the center, and how the structure are working to make sure that those kind of regulation is on a weekly basis reviewed, and to make sure that to solve it and enhancing the business. Second, please. Here are some example of the procedure that have been changed. On the reducing the license approval, it was 3 days and now it's like 3 hours. A reduction in required custom documents, 9 to 2, and from the import 12 to 2. Foreign ownership is 100%. Launching the commercial retribution center. Also in the time taking issue business visas 24-hour, increase the investor license 5 years. We have many achievements to talk. It's almost 130 regulation have been enhanced. Next, please. Finally, in this slide, for example, we have explained the Kingdom ranking in the terms of global indicator in numbers. In doing business, Saudi Arabia reached among the 190 countries, we are in 62. Saudi Arabia also on the 30th place as of now. Women business, also we have, and we are in the first on GCC, and we have reached almost 70 points. Next, please. Also on the Global Competitive Report, we are on the level of 36 and also improving for the second year, inshallah. Also on the World Competitive York Book, we are on the 13. We jumped on the 13th place. And also we are in the 7th of the G20 countries. Finally, we thank you, everyone of it, and we hope that we will succeed, reach the investor satisfaction. And as I mentioned, we have the contact detail to contact us whenever you have challenging or you need any information. Thank you very much, and thank you, Abdurrahman.
That was very, very informative. And ladies and gentlemen, right now we are going to and Economic Cities and Specialized Zone Authority. So this question,
Sir.
very
I'm sorry, Abdurrahman, I cannot hear you properly. I think there's a problem with the connection. Okay, Mr. Abdurrahman, if you
Can you hear me now?
One more time. Yes, I can hear you properly.
So
You
Nabil?
can recall the question, please. Yes.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. So it's what services fall under the postponement?
Yes. So today we provide, as I mentioned in the presentation a while ago, about 150 services. We are actually postponing the services for as the initiatives number 2, 3, and 4 for all the services concerning the licensing services. So any issuance for the investment license inside the economic cities will be postponed in terms of the payment. We're talking about the municipal services. It falls under the same category. Again, there will be a postponement for any service under the municipality services. And so goes for the real estate services, if that answers the question.
Yes.
I think I lost you, Abdurrahman. I'm not sure if the question was referred to me or to someone else.
No. You
Abdurrahman, is this a question regarding Royal Commission? Hello?
It is for the Royal Commission. I think the question, Ustad Zidane, is about in this quarter, we expect that, as many said, that the business are losing. So compared with the Q1 in 2020, how it's looked like from investment point of view?
Thank you, my brother Majid. Sorry, it seems to be with that we are already lost Abdurrahman. But the good news about the investment that we are successfully attracted more than 54 billion riyal in the first quarter of 2020. This is equivalent almost to $14.5 billion. This is considered a substantial investment that being attracted to the kingdom. Most of those investments is coming for primary industrial and downstream industries in chemicals, special metals, and some of the investment is in automotive industries. Also, there is number of industries in the downstream industries. Considering this number, comparing with the last year, I think this is very encouraging. It reflects the confidence of the investors and the kingdom economy. It reflects that is still, it's the right time for investment anyway, for the smart investors. And that is the effort made by the government during this pandemic. I think it's already confirmed the message to all the investors around the world that the kingdom is still the good destination for any investment. Welcome back, Abdurrahman. Just we lost the connection. Unfortunately, I didn't hear your question, bro.
Yeah, but that was the question.
This is your question.
Yes, thank you,
Yes,
Khalid, for
pleasure.
moving. Moving. Including answer that would be lovely from anyone.
Yes, Mr. Abdurrahman, can you repeat the question due to the disconnected voice? Can you repeat the question because it's disconnected the voice?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. So it's a two-part question. How to submit renewal application for mining license using my platform? Yes, it's how to submit renewal application mining licenses and how to try using the ETH platform.
Okay, that's a good question. This question includes two parts. I will answer first part. First part, the investor can submit an application for renewing the mining license within 250 days before expiration date. So by logging to the mining ETH platform and select the license renewal service, then can choose the desired license to be renewed from the list. Continue filling the renewal form and then submit the application. For the second part of the question, regarding to the transferring the license through a mining e-platform, can be done by the e-platform that the transferring should have a valid license. It is required for this process. So both parties of assigner or assignee should have an account in the mining e-platform. The first step is to submit the request by the licensee, by the license holder via his account. Then it should be approved by the second party assignee through his account in the e-platform to continue the procedures.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was very informative. So we have a question for Mudan. This question, Mudan, and the question is, what were the efforts made during COVID-19?
Sure, thank you. Mudan has made a lot of efforts through the COVID-19, either through the incentives that we have been introduced and I talked already about, or to make sure that the COVID-19 does not hit the laborers and the workers that work in our industrial cities. One of them is we followed the precautionary measures that instructed by the concerned government entities. Also, we have done inspections to factories within our industrial cities. We have done almost 1,000 visits to our industrial cities through 22 industrial cities with 70. Talk us a lot of efforts if we considering the time frame. Yet we have done it to make sure that all factories follow the precautionary measures as instructed. Also, in Dammam 2, for example, we have done visits to the factories, cleaning the labor compounds and facilities, the common share facilities, to make sure that the COVID does not hit the labor. As well, we have, as mentioned earlier, allowed the labor housing within the factories, as well building a 10,000 square meter labor compound, temporary labor compound in Dammam 2. All of that combined with other efforts increased the safety in our industrial cities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this question is going to go to one of our champions at the Mr. Mazen Al-Hamad, if you are with us, this question is for you, and it's about a question about the curfew efforts during Eid time and what has been taken from your respective side. You can answer this one, and please introduce yourself to our lovely listeners as well. Thank you. Mr. Mazen? Okay, so I think we're having some technical difficulties. So I think we are running out of time, ladies and gentlemen. However, please rest assured and know that we, all of us at the Ministry of Investment and all the other respective brothers that we have in the other governmental entities are here to support you, are here to ease the way you do your businesses, especially during COVID-19 and inshallah after that. And please do not hesitate to contact us. This is one way of reaching us, and also the presentations will be shared upon request for your kind perusal. And I would like to thank everyone from our lovely speakers for giving the time to inform and illuminate everyone about their lovely incentives. And if anyone wants, hello?
Yes, sorry, Abdurrahman, for I just want to ask one important question that I have been approached by different investors, especially from outside the kingdom, and I want to take this opportunity to share it with the Ministry of Industry. So as we know, team, that nowadays the mineral regulation is about to release, and many foreign investors are asking, is it also an ownership, and is it also the chance it's opening for foreign investors to participate on the mineral sector? And I will give this question, and if Mr. Al-Badr will answer this kindly.
Hello. Yes, could you please repeat the question? I think you mentioned mineral resources.
Yes, exactly. Is it something can be also participated by foreign investment, or it's just for Saudi's company?
I will leave this question to my colleague, Mr. Ahmed Halibi, to answer.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Majid. Regarding to the participation from the foreign investors in the mining sector, it's allowed.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, this is very good news. The last question that we saw also on the Q&A, is there any special incentives regarding the medical equipments and industrial in this COVID period? And if someone can elaborate on that, it would be very good.
Yes, actually, this is the hot subject nowadays, and we would like to communicate with the Dr. Asad. If he could just send an email to us or leave his contact information. Industrial program has the medical cluster. They have been working day and night nowadays during the COVID-19. So communicating with Dr. Asad will answer his question in detail.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you, Abdurrahman.
I just have one. Yes, Abdurrahman, if before you close, I have some comments that I would like to make. So, whenever it's suitable.
Please, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. I just would like to mention, in addition to what we have said previously, I would like to say that we welcome ideas from the private sector, and the door is widely open to receive them either by the ministry website, where we have designed a form for this purpose, or by the National Industrial Committee from the Council of Saudi Chambers, where we have a full engagement with them and operation room to receive initial ideas, challenges, and enablers, and transfer them into initiatives and measures. Furthermore, many initiatives and measures released were push strategy initiatives and measures. And at this stage, we are focusing more on pull strategy initiatives and measures in order to pull the sectors towards the future. As you know, securing sales means securing the business itself. For that, we're working towards more exports, localizations, government procurement, and made in Saudi to increase loyalty towards Saudi-made product. So we welcome ideas from all the private sector to work hand by hand to enable industrial and mining sectors. Thank you, Abdurrahman.
Thank you very much, Abdullah, and this is a very great information, and we are sure that this is continued.
So if anyone has any last remarks, any last comments, please do so before we end our segment.
If you allow me, Abdurrahman, this is Mohammed Ahmed from SIDF. Just as a final remark, I just wanted to emphasize that the incentive programs and the financial products that I've covered in my presentation are available to both local and foreign investors that will come to apply to our website, and it's available for them benefit from.
Abdurrahman, if you allow me, Zaidan, if you allow me, brother Abdurrahman, Allah Yasallamak, I would like to thank you, all of you, for this interesting session and the information which is being shared by different parties here. And I would like to assert that Royal Commission is taking all the necessary action to minimize the implication of such COVID-19 implications on most of the industries. We are, as a Royal Commission, our ultimate objective is to maintain the continuity of the business within our cities. So there is a lot of action has been taken during the previous period, and every day we are in discussion with management to approve additional incentive or additional procedures and actions to mitigate the implication of such situation on the investors. Recently, certain procedure been given, as I mentioned before, that certain procedure been extended to all the investors as you are aware that most of the RC cities, their economic base is the industries, and the industries, they are the accelerator sector to the various sector within the economy within the cities. Hopefully the investment which is being attracted, that is also will accelerate the different sectors. We are expecting out of the investment that been attracted more than 6,000 direct job to be created. And that is when it comes to the indirect job, that is will be multiplied by average of 8. So that is creation of the job, one of the things that always we are focusing on it on the Royal Commission. Finally, I would like to thank you for your kind invitations for the Royal Commission to participate with you. And any questions from any investors related to the business procedures or the requirement within the RCT, our webpage, they can approach us very easily through the RC webpage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we are going to conclude our time together. And I wish everyone a lovely evening. كل عام وانتم بخير مسبقا. And I look forward to answering any queries that anyone should have, and to extend any questions to our lovely brothers and sisters from our panelists and from the support team. Have a good night and take care. Bye-bye.